Hey, welcome to Accusations, me in the latter days. Today we're going to take a look at yet another Paul problem. Today we're going to take a look at the topic of a Nazarite vow. What is a Nazarite vow? And how does that connect with our investigation into Paul of Tarsus? Let's begin. We're going to keep this video short and focused. Let's begin in Numbers chapter 6. Numbers chapter 6. Let's read verses 5 and verses 18. I would encourage you when you have the time, we're not going to take the time to do it all today, but when you have time, just read the whole chapter. Okay, but we're going to focus on two verses. Verse 5. Again, number 6, verse 5. All the days of the vow of his separation, no razor shall come upon his head until the days are fulfilled for which he separated himself to the Lord. He shall be holy. That word holy just means set apart, dedicated, sanctified. Then he shall let the locks of his hair of his head grow. Let's look now at 18. This is the conclusion of the Nazarite vow. This is the process to conclude your vow in a kosher manner. 18, then the Nazarite shall shave his consecrated head, so he cuts his hair, at the door. Where? Details matter. At the door of the tabernacle of meeting, and shall take the hair from his consecrated head and put it on the fire which is under the sacrifice of the peace offering. So what's he supposed to do? Shave his head, cut his hair. Where? Anywhere? No. At the door of the holy place. And then what's he do? Then he burns it on the fire under the sacrifice, an animal of the peace offering. Okay, this is really important. Okay, now that we know what the law of God says, now that we know what the Torah says, let's jump to Acts chapter 18, and let's look at verse 18. So Paul still remained a good while, then he took leave of the brethren and sailed for Syria. Not for Israel, Syria. And Priscilla and Aquila were with him. He had his hair cut off at Cenchrea. At where? In Israel? In Jerusalem? At the place where he's supposed to do it? No. He had his hair cut off at Cenchrea, for he had taken a vow. He took a Nazarite vow. A very, extremely serious thing. He took a Nazarite vow. And he completely threw the Torah of Moses under the bus. He discarded the Torah of Moses when he terminated his vow. He wasn't in Israel and Jerusalem at Beit Hamikdash, at the Holy Temple, at the door of the temple, doing it in the prescribed manner. No. He disregarded the Torah of Moses. This is lawlessness. He disregarded the Torah of Moses. He was in Cenchrea, and he shaved his head. So we see, Paul did not keep the Torah. Paul did not uphold the Torah. He broke his Nazarite vow. Interesting, because we've seen in prior videos, we've talked about and examined the fact that Paul, by his own first-hand testimony, says, I've never done anything against the Torah. I've never done anything to go contrary to the Torah. I've always been upright. This is staring us right in the face, and so many people miss it. I missed this for many, many years. I'm guilty. Totally guilty. He broke his Nazarite vow. Big, big, big problem. Now let's take a look at one other thing that is very interesting to consider now that we understand this. So again, Paul took a Nazarite vow. He cut it off in a non-kosher manner. Very, very serious stuff. Now let's jump forward a couple chapters. Let's go to Acts 21. Let's look at verses 17 to 24. And when we had come to Jerusalem, the brethren received us gladly. On the following day, Paul went in with us to Yaakov, to James, and all the elders were present. So we finally made it to Jerusalem. When he had greeted them, he told in detail those things which God had done among the Gentiles through his ministry, And when they heard it, they glorified the Lord. And they said to him, "You see, brother, how many myriads of Jews there are who have believed, and they are all zealous for the Torah. But they have been informed about you." This is very, very important. "That you teach all the Jews who are among the Gentiles to forsake Moses," to commit apostasy. Paul has a rap. He has a reputation for being antinomian, anti-Torah. He has a reputation for teaching apostasy against Moses. Is it true? If it's not true, Paul should immediately come out and say, "What in the, where did that come from? No, I would never do such a thing." Right? And likewise, if that's really what Paul is teaching, and that's exactly what billions of people today believe and teach, Paul was teaching, then Paul should have spoken up, right? That would be the time, that would be the opportunity to say, "Yaakov, have a seat. Let's talk this over. I need to fill you in. I have my own gospel. It's different. It's a different package. It's the Paul package." Okay? Notice, nothing. We don't hear a word from Paul. He stays silent. Not a word. Let's continue again, 21. "But they have been informed about you, that you teach all the Jews who are among the Gentiles to commit apostasy, to forsake Moses, saying that they ought not to circumcise their children nor to walk according to the customs." What then? What do we do about this? Listen, if Paul's teaching the same gospel, why are they saying, "What do we do with this?" They're trying to give Paul the benefit of the doubt. They're telling Paul, "What in the world is this all about?" They can't believe this. So what do they say? "What then? The assembly must certainly meet." This is serious. "For they will hear that you have come." 23, "Therefore, do what we tell you." So again, they don't think there's any way he could possibly be teaching such nonsense. So they say, "All right, here's what you need to do." "What then? The assembly must certainly meet, for they will hear that you have come. Therefore, do what we tell you. We have 4 men who have taken a vow." What kind of a vow? Nazarite vow, what we just read in number 6. "Take them and be purified with them. Pay their expenses so that they may shave their heads, and that all may know that those things of which they were informed concerning you are nothing." In other words, they don't have a clue what Paul is really teaching, and they cannot possibly fathom Paul teaching lawlessness, teaching against the law of Moses. "That you yourself are also walking orderly and keeping the Torah." There's a lot going on here. Okay, you have to understand what they're telling him to do. Go to the temple, make sacrifices. What's Paul say? "I'm not going to do it. This goes completely contrary to my gospel." No, he doesn't say that. Okay? Paul doesn't tell them. He's not straight up. He's not honest with them. He doesn't come to them and say, "Listen, guys, in reality, I really do teach that. I really do teach them not to circumcise, not to keep Torah. That is, in fact, my message. That is, in reality, my gospel." He doesn't say a word because he's a liar. He is a deceiver. I hope you can see this. If you can't, turn your radar on. Crank up the sensitivity meter. He should have said here, but he didn't. He kept his mouth shut. Furthermore, it's very interesting, I find, that a few chapters before, Paul cuts off his Nazirite vow in a non-kosher manner. Here he is in chapter 21, and what do they tell him to do? "We've heard that you're walking in lawlessness. We heard that you've committed apostasy and are teaching others to do the same." So what did they prescribe? Go and take part in the conclusion of the Nazirite vow with these individuals. Is that coincidence? Or did Yaakov perhaps hear, "You're not going to believe it. Paul had a Nazarite vow. He cut it short. You serious? I'm serious. You can just imagine. It's like cause your head to explode. That's a big deal. You don't do that. So is it any wonder then why when he shows up finally, Yaakov says, we've heard some stuff. Prove to them that there's nothing by going and concluding the Nazarite vow in the prescribed manner to affirm that you walk orderly. I think these passages are certainly connected. But again, it is very, very important that we understand he's not being straightforward. He's not being straight up. He's a deceiver. He has a full track record of this sort of thing. He's a deceiver. The ends justify the means. That's his whole bumper sticker slogan. The ends justify the means. Paul. What does Hashem say? Those who do my work in a deceitful manner are cursed. Okay? If Paul really taught these things, if the Torah was really done away with, if we're really not supposed to do these things anymore, why didn't Paul give James the memo, give Yaakov the updated itinerary? Why didn't he get him filled in, get him updated? I hope that you can see. Houston, we have a problem. We have many problems. We have over 40 problems in this series that we have to deal with. And we need to take a good, honest, hard look at the words and the life, the actions of Paul of Tarsus. Is this someone who is a reflection of Yeshua? Because remember, an apostle, a student, is a reflection of his master. Is Paul a reflection of Yeshua? Is this how Yeshua operated? Is this what Yeshua taught? Once again, the answer is no. Paul is a completely different animal. He is a completely different package. And we have to do our due diligence. We have to do the investigation. We have to come up with a verdict, and we have to act. We have to disconnect from the teachings of Paul of Tarsus, and we need to return to the pure path of Yeshua. We need to walk in his footsteps. We need to be keeping the law of Moses exactly as he did and taught when he walked the earth 2,000 years ago. So continue to study, continue to search, continue to seek him with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your strength. Continue to seek him while he can still be found. Until next time, shalom.